are ready when you are, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I got about a minute. Okay, I've got 10 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee to order. I am Chairman Tobin Hope. I'm attending from my home in the city of Mount Pleasant, Isabella County.
I'm Jerry Jalzinski, attending from my home in Chippewa Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
And I'm Jim Horton. I'm attending from my home in Union Township, Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
Next up is call to the public. Do we have anyone?
We do not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then we will keep moving right along. There will be another call to the public at the end of the meeting. So if anyone dials in or is dialed in already, you'll have an opportunity to there. We will move on to item number 4. Consider approving the increase in fee to veterinarians townships for selling dog licenses from 50 cents to a minimum of $1 per license sold, or a reasonable fee established by the Board of Commissioners. Mr. Pickens, how you doing today?
Fairly well, thank you.
Good, good.
Good morning, Treasurer.
Good morning.
So I don't know who wants to take the lead on this. It seems like 50 cents is a pretty nominal fee to sell dog.
Well, the history on it is it's been 50 cents since I've been here, and that's 30 years. And it was 50 cents prior to that. In the past, we have had some veterinarians sell the licenses for us as well. It's set up that the townships are supposed to take dog licenses, but they have shied away from that as of late, and we don't sell probably less than 100 licenses throughout the townships in the city. And the cities does well, Fremont does well, a couple other townships do okay. But the majority of the licenses are sold by the county treasurer and then at animal control. And whole veterinary service has done a wonderful job for us and has continued to stay with us. The other ones have dropped out. As of late, though, with the COVID conditions, Doc Pohl has not sold any at this time, but we're hoping to get them back into the mix. Just asking for, it's never been raised. It's a manual system. It's a pain in the butt for them to fill it out. It's time consuming, and I'm just hoping that we can raise it to at least $1 to give them a little bit of incentive or a little bit of something in return for selling licenses for us.
Yeah, it certainly sounds reasonable. Commissioners, you have any questions or comments? Yeah, Commissioner Horton.
Steve, the fee from 50 cents to $1, I mean, it seems that seems very nominal. I don't know if that would even make much of an incentive. Would going up this, I'm going to throw a number out maybe for discussion. Would $5 make more sense? Would that seem to be more of an attractive number? I mean, obviously it would cost, what, 3,000 or whatever it would add to our cost, but you think that would be more attractive to make more people want to do this so they don't all come down to your office?
Anything that you raise higher than the 50 cents, I think would be yeah, that's a good number. You're still talking nominal dollars each year. We did go to a 3-year licensing here back several years ago. That has slowed the process down from people coming in year after year after year. So that has helped us a little bit, but yeah, an incentive, whatever you guys feel is fair and reasonable is okay with me.
Mr. Jazinski.
How many dog licenses in total, not only those that are handled by the townships and vets and all, do we have on an annual basis? And while you're looking that up, I agree. I think $1 is not going to be much of an incentive to still sell those licenses. It'd be nice to be able to do something more.
Well, I know between animal control and us, there was 2,000 licenses. The others, we're talking around maybe 200 licenses. So 2,200 licenses a year is what we sell on an average.
Okay.
And I'm sure that number is going to go down on the animal control portion with the changes you've recently made. I'm not sure too many are going to walk into the sheriff's department, buy an animal license.
I always renew mine through animal control through the mail, so it's pretty simple. And I've got a 12-and-a-half-year-old dog, so I'm thinking maybe the 3-year I don't need this next time. But anyway,
Is that wishful thinking or not?
well, I won't say. But anyway, I know the fee of $5 was thrown out there. Do you think a $5 fee would discourage too many people, or is that, or no? What's
This is not on top of the fee that we charge. Your $8 license, your $10 license, that amount is taking out of that portion.
Oh, okay.
It's not an addition.
Okay.
I would encourage the number of people to come forward with their to license their animals without, where they might otherwise ignore it too. Because what chances are there being caught up with if you have an unlicensed animal?
Well, we haven't done a census in many, many years, and we always used to have a census person go around and knock on doors. I think you will find if you was to do that, that there's a lot of very, very many unlicensed dogs in Isabella County.
Chairman Hope?
Yes, sir.
Treasurer Pickens, let's see. Again, we haven't had a dog in our house for since 2016, I believe. But if someone goes to their vet, do they check? This is an ignorant question on my part, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Do the veterinarians or anybody check when they come to bring them in whether they're a licensed animal or not, or is that do you know if that's done? I know that's kind of outside.
No, that's not their responsibility. It's strictly volunteer basis on the person bringing the animal in. I don't think the vets will discriminate or discourage those that don't.
Yeah.
Where I was kind of going with that is thinking if we did increase it to $5, that might somewhat of an incentive too, just to say, you know, if you're not licensed, we can do it here or something like. Again, 50 cents seems like as you said, 50 cents seems like a very nominal fee, especially if it takes up time, because you know, time is very valuable in anybody's life, let alone a busy veterinarian's office or busy treasurer's office or anything like that. So.
Well, the treasurer receives nothing. Animal control receives.
Right. I was talking the townships and everything. So.
Yeah.
Well, $5. You said 200 licenses are sold through the vets. Of course, this might encourage more people buying them through their vets and through the townships. So, but if not, if you stuck with that 200 number, 200 licenses at $5 is $1,000. How much of an impact would that be on the animal control budget? It's hard. I know there's too many variables there to say, because would people get the license through the animal control or?
No.
Yeah. Go ahead, Margaret.
So when people pay their license, whatever if they pay them at the township or they pay them at animal control, that money goes to it does not go to animal control.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
The money that Mr. Pickens collects doesn't go to the treasurer's office necessarily. It might, but it's not earmarked that way. The animal control sales are not earmarked for animal control. They go to the
Okay.
general fund.
Gotcha.
I will say that, if a dog is picked up by the animal control officer and that dog is not licensed, then that's part of the enforcement of what the animal control officer does.
Mhm.
That's, there's going to be an animal control fee for that, and they're going to need to get that dog licensed. And, that kind of does start that ball. It's not going to affect, the treasurer made the comment that there's probably lots of unlicensed dogs, probably true. But we don't have the resources to knock on doors and go around and do that at this point. So,
Mhm.
I think if somebody brings their dog in and the dog isn't licensed, I liked Mr. Horton's idea. Of course, we can't compel the vets to do that, but maybe they could encourage it. If the fee is going to be increased, then I don't know. Might be
Yeah,
something that would be helpful.
Originally, your state license, your dog licenses brought forth in the statutes to pay for the animal control portion of it. Whatever the fees you charge for your licenses is supposed to be part of the denomination for your budget for animal control.
Okay. And of course, now we have hats and we pay them bi-weekly, so.
We pay them for the shelter services. The animal control services are still done by the county.
Okay.
But of course, these fees, they're not enough to cover all the expenses of animal control. Certainly it helps, but there's not enough to cover.
It'd be interesting if we put it up to 5. My thought, again, this is just thinking, and that's why we're having these discussions before we take it fully live, is that if you put it to $5, and maybe that would be an incentive to get more licenses. So if maybe that'll offset some of the, let's say $1,000 cost, or that would be decreased from animal control. But if you could sell or obtain more licenses by offering more of an incentive to have the animals licensed, that might, I guess, be a trade-off. Maybe it's again, you don't know until you do it. So
Yeah.
but I think going to $1 is not much. 50 cents is not much of an incentive, to be honest.
Well, here's a suggestion. I'll throw it out there. Maybe if we just approve just the way it's written, a minimum of $1, and then let the full board kind of kick it around and decide what they think is a fair price for that.
Yeah, or a reasonable fee. So do you think you want it from committee though? I mean, do you want to, instead of going to the full board, maybe make a recommendation of at least $1, but in committee we discuss $5? I mean, do you want to do something like that? It's your committee. I don't know how, your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm comfortable with a $5 fee, and I think that will encourage a lot more vets to sell these licenses.
I think if the committee could reach a consensus on a recommendation to the work session, that's probably the best option. And then if other people at the work session want to, come up with other options, that certainly is their ability to do that. But I would just recommend that you take a recommendation forward to the work session.
Yeah, I would be in favor of doing a $5, putting it to $5 and reevaluating it and see, do it as a, if it's a 3-year thing, maybe do it for 3 years and reevaluate it. I don't know. Commissioner Jalazinski, what's your thoughts on that?
I am in favor of increasing the proposal to $5. I mean, we can go into the discussion at the work session that was originally 50 cents increase. We thought for these reasons, it'd be better to go with the $5.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep, I do too.
I'm okay with that, but thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I'll make a motion then that we consider approving the increase in fee to Veterinarians Township for selling dog license from 50 cents to $5 per license sold, or a reasonable fee established by the Board of Commissioners.
I will support that.
It's been moved and supported. Any more discussion? Anything else on that?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we will move that item forward.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 5, consider approving a buyout of excess PTO hours above 225.5 hours for non-represented employees for calendar year 2021 only as recommended. And I remember we did this same thing last year, but you're gonna take,
Sure. Would you
okay,
like me-
go
would you
ahead,
like me to
Margaret.
take the reins? Yes. So yes, we did this last year in reviewing where we stand. We have 44 employees that are at this point going to lose time. With between quarantines and frankly, we probably had more quarantines than you might realize. So when a person is quarantined, obviously somebody else has to step in. So we have some quarantines. We've had some positive cases. We also have, parts of our organization that is working on backlogs. And it's just been really difficult for some of our employees who have earned that benefit to be able to use it. And I think it's the right thing to do to support them. And, the money is appropriated. There's a PTO buyout in the budget. These vacation times have already been budgeted for. So I would recommend that we follow what the recommendation is on the second sheet of this and authorize us to provide the buyout of excess PTO hours in excess of 225.5 hours for non-represented employees for calendar year 2021 only at this point as recommended. As far as the collective bargaining agreements, they all have different language. The language isn't exactly the same. They don't have this 225.5 hours in most of their collective bargaining agreements. So last year when we did this, in the end, none of the collective bargaining employees, it's not that they wouldn't have been eligible, because I would have brought them back to you and asked you to have that happen, but it didn't, the situation wasn't the same for them. They have different aspects of how they can use their time, what they can get paid off for, and those are different in all of the agreements. So at this point, this would only be for the non-represented employees. And as I said, there's 44 of them. That's a fairly large number of our non-rep base.
That is a large number. So, Margaret, do any of the union groups have a carryover limit?
I can't answer that right off the top of my head. I would want to pull them out because there's so many of them. I wouldn't want to misspeak.
Yeah, sure.
They have a different buyout in theirs. They have they're all different. And so I wouldn't want to be giving you the wrong information, but I can look that up and have that for you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And I didn't mean to
No,
catch
you're good.
with anything, but it would be interesting to see. I would hate to see anyone lose hours, especially because operationally, they just couldn't take the time off. I would hate to see people lose hours because of that.
Yeah, and it's been my experience since I've been here that, people are very aware of what they can carry over with the 225. And, I haven't had people come to me and say, oh, I'm losing a bunch of hours. I think we've had some people who, have lost some previously. But this is a totally different situation with the COVID situation. And we're still in the thick of it here. I was thinking yesterday that, last fall at this time, a large portion of my time was spent on, working with employees who were sick, working with employees who were testing, working with employees who were positive, working with department heads, elected officials, and quarantine people, and closing offices, et cetera. And I'm concerned that, we have had a situation again of an uptick of positive employees who have had direct contact, quarantine people. And so, that leaves a hole in wherever work site they're at, and other people are very, very generous and have stepped in to do that, but then folks can't get their time off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Commissioner Jelezinski.
I put my Parks and Recreation Director's hat on when I read this, and what I remember in our meetings and doing the personnel report, of all the people in Parks and Recreation just coming and going, coming and going. Maybe they had better job opportunities, but I remember when I was director, we hired our staff early. And if we had lost 1 or 2 staff through the summer, that was it. And if we had a situation where we didn't have enough, it was the full-time staff that had to fill in to continue operations. And then last night I went to the GOP meeting and Sheriff Mike was there and he had indicated that apparently he's down. He needs to hire 1 or 2 people and he's had 5 people off on COVID. And he said he and Under Sheriff Burns and some of the other non-union were working 7 days a week filling in. So I can easily see where departments, if they're conscientious and try to keep their programs together, they're giving up their personal time and not able to take the vacation. So I think this is a fair proposal.
I will say that the example, of course, you know, I'm not going to try to compare what the sheriff's office has to live through 24/7 emergency providers, the jail, everything else. But I would say that probably the majority of our department heads and probably the elected officials and certainly their staffs to some extent are doing those long, not as many long hours, but very long hours. And I remember I made a comment to the chairman a couple of weeks ago about I don't know, we were talking about, it was a couple of months ago about something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was working on that on Sunday. And you know, that just happens. You get to a certain point and you just have to pick up the pieces. And I think the issue is everyone here is picking up the pieces. And I appreciate the support of the recommendation from the committee. I think it's just simply the right thing to do. Our folks are giving their all.
Commissioner Horton.
Yep, just a couple quick things. I agree. I mean, we pride ourselves on our ability to offer services and maintain a high level of services. And as Commissioner Jelezinski said, and Margaret said, people step up and do this. And so we don't have a drop. So I think this is one way we can show the county's appreciation for this trying time. I mean, I guess my question too, though, is, do you have the number that number again? I know it's not going to be equivalent, but just to get a rough idea of what we paid in 2020 in regards to this. I know we did it last year. What our amount was last year. For some reason, I said like 37,000 in my head, but I have no clue. So
I'll get that number I will get that number out to you and the committee members.
Yeah. I don't think it was, if I recall, it might not even been that. I don't think it was a large number. I mean, it's not, for whatever reason, I can't recall that being a very large number. I think when we went over it, I don't even think it was even that high. I think when we went over it, it was not a large number, but I could be wrong. I don't want to speak.
I'll get the figure out to the committee and to you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was either, but it did seem like it wasn't a huge number. But Commissioner Jelezinski, do you want to make that motion, sir?
Yes. I move that we take the consideration of approving a buyout of excess PTO hours, about 225 and a half hours for non-represented employees for the calendar year 2021 only to the work session.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Very good. Brings us down to item number 6. Consider approving the tax increment revenue sharing agreement between Union Township, the Union Township East Downtown Development Authority, and Isabella County, and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. So I'm not sure who wants to take the lead on this one, but
I'll take it to start with.
sure.
So we currently have an agreement with Union Township regarding the East DDA that, you know, our current agreement is that in the current parameters or boundaries of the East DDA, they return to us, we share with the township some of that capture. So, you know, as we know, DDAs can capture, correct? We know that from our tax base, from all of our our property taxes, our millages, et cetera. Before I came here, there was a lawsuit with Union Township over the East DDA that ended up being dismissed in court for being filed in the wrong court. I believe, kind of the capsule point of it. And when that happened, Chairman at the time, Chairman Green, and I met with at the time, the Union Township manager and kind of worked out this situation. So at this point, it's a 75-25 split, which has been good for us. Moving forward, the Township East DDA is considering expanding. The Board of Commissioners have 3 choices in that. You know, we could choose to not do anything and have it expand and have our tax dollars captured. Another option is that, you know, we could have gone forward and put together an appeal of that, or saying, no, we're not going to do that. And we're not going to participate in that. On the other hand, Union Township has offered the opportunity for 100% non-capture of any of the extension of the East DDA, which basically is the same benefit of opting out, but also maintaining our good neighbor status with them and the great working relationship we have established with Union Township. So it is a win-win. I've sent the agreement on to our attorney. Our attorney thinks it's a great idea. He said, in the end, it's the same as opting out, but probably a better option professionally for us. So moving forward, I strongly support and recommend that the Board of Commissioners would enter into this agreement. It's a 20-year deal, which I think is very, very good for us. Chairman Horton, I know he and I have talked about this often. I don't know if he has anything he would like to add, but this is 100% return of the capture for the expansion for the township and the county, and also continuing the current 75-25% we have on the original DDA area. So I strongly recommend the Board of Commissioners approve this and authorize the chairman to enter into the agreement.
Commissioner Horton?
Oh, yeah, I would echo that. We had a meeting, I'm gonna say, Margaret, when was it? September, August?
Probably.
Yeah, it was done in a parking lot up in Clare. I did it on my phone, actually. When this was first proposed, and you know, when I first heard it, I go, you know, this doesn't sound like we have to look at this really heavily, closely. And I think the good relations that we have with Union Township came through with this agreement. Again, it's not expanding it really anything that we don't already do. This was just backing up a little bit. Before I got on the board, this is my 9th year, so it would have been before that. So back in, when I started serving in 2012, so 2010, let's say 2010, 2011, the county and the township were actually engaged in a lawsuit over this in a tax capture. And the 75-25 was a result of a settlement reached. And I think it's worked out for both entities. This is another carry on, keeping that same tax capture for the 75-25, allowing them to expand it. But at the same time, as Margaret said, basically we're saying no to the expansion, which we're allowed to do, but we're not really saying it that way. We're doing it per contract. And what also this allows them to do, my understanding is, by expanding, is that they're allowed to use some of that tax capture that they're getting out of the 75-25 and putting into that, and also probably be eligible for grants and whatnot that way. So I think it's a fair and equitable solution to this. This could, as you know, if one lawsuit 10 years ago could be one lawsuit next month or 2 months from now. We don't want that. I mean, I think this is a good way for both entities to work together. I think, just kind of reading here, I don't see the word. Yeah, there is. First paragraph, though, strengthen this partnership. Anything we can do with the township, any municipality, any city of Mount Pleasant, Union Township, anything we can do to strengthen our partnerships with them, the better, I think. Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, same way. So again, this is a good solution, I think, to what they want to do. And it protects, I think, Isabella County as far as the non-union township representations.
Mhm. Yep. Sounds good. I don't see any downside to it. Commissioner Jazinski.
Just taking a look at the expansion, the Exhibit A, and I kind of had a thought in the back of my mind, I wonder why some of these, like the C1, C2, C3, C4, they're like little inholdings, why they weren't included in the original DDA zone for whatever reason. But I'm glad to hear that the 75% for the original zone area is probably in excess what they may need right now, and can use that to benefit some of the areas that are being added to the zone. Area B looks primarily residential, but I'm thinking, maybe there's some need for playgrounds there that you can get matching grants for state grant or matching dollars for state grants. So I'm thinking they have a well thought out plan, but I was just looking and thinking, why were those small little inholdings not in the original plat there? But I don't see any thing wrong with it. I think they've done very well with their money, especially along Pickard. It used to be a really rundown kind of commercial area, and it's really dressed it up and made it safer for pedestrians. And I think that's good.
Yep, I would agree with all of that. And I'll make a motion then that we move this forward. The tax increment revenue sharing agreement between Union Township, the Union Township East Downtown Development Authority, and Isabella County, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. That we move this on to the work session next week.
I will support that.
Okay, any further discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 7, municipal employees retirement system, defined benefit retirement cost of living adjustment discussion. And who wants to take the lead on this item? Margaret, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. In your packet is the staff report and the information and report from MERS. I'm sure that I don't need to go through the report. I'm sure that you all read it and carefully considered it. In the end, the financial impact as determined by MERS of that 2.5% COLA increase would be $597,488. And I just can't recommend that as the administrator controller. So my recommendation under recommendations is not to recommend pursuing the flexible E 2.5% COLA in 2022 for MERS defined benefit divisions. However, if the board wants to pursue that, then you could consider the MERS defined benefit plan adoption agreement to implement a flexible E 2.5% COLA in 2022 and authorize the board chair to sign. So under recommendations, there are 2 recommendations. There's my recommendation as the administrator controller, but then there is another option if the board wants to go the other option. I felt that, we usually write those types of things out for the board and committee, so I wanted to do that. I will be honest, I don't know about anybody else's opinion, and I'm just going to give my own opinion. The number is big, it's huge, and it is larger than I could have anticipated it would be. And I just don't think that is not that those retirees have not served their community well and the county well, but I can't recommend it.
Okay. Commissioners. Commissioner Jazinski.
I really want to discuss the pros and cons of that, since I'm one of those defined benefit retirees of the county. I just want to ask a question. I know the almost $600,000 is steep for our operational budget and general fund expense, but is this something that could possibly be picked up by the lost revenues of the ARPA for a special project. It would seem like the retirees have been impacted by the pandemic, their income and the like. Just a question in that regard. I know we had the lost revenues and set those aside, using some of them for the upcoming budget. Or using some for the existing budget, excuse me.
I don't have an answer for that. I would have to research that. I think it's important. And I know that you're a very conscientious member, Commissioner Jablonski, but I think it's important that you refrain from the discussion. But I will happily look into that and see what others around think about the possibility of doing that.
Commissioner Horton.
Yeah, I guess my viewpoint is regardless of what fund it comes from, whether it comes from the art monies, which I don't know if it can, I thought there's something you couldn't use it for benefits or retirement programs, but I could be wrong on that.
That's what I thought too, but
Yes.
Regardless of that, to me that, and again, and maybe it's a good thing we're having this in discussion. I know it's a live meeting, it's being recorded, but I know we often make the statement, promises made, promises kept, and we still have roughly $13 million to fund what we've already promised out of our budget. And that's an ongoing expense for quite a number of years. I think way out, 20, 30 something time the anticipated payoff or whatever that is, unless we for lack of a better term, refinance that again. So that is a tremendous hit on our budget already, making us 100% whole on that account. Again, I do emphasize, I do empathize with cost of living adjustments and everything, but as a retiree somebody who with a defined benefit, you kind of understood when you retired what your obligation, what you were going to receive. Again, that sounds kind of harsh, but that is today's world. Today, right now, the employees are defined contribution coming in. And to take a $600,000 hit, whether we take it out of the general fund or we take it out of monies that we received on a one-time basis, is excessive, I think. So I am not in favor of this. I would not support this coming out of committee. But again, I just think that it's, and again, every people who came in front of us and asked, or not asked, but requested that we look into it. I know we spent $1,100 or $1,200 on it. I think it was money that we needed to see something on this. Well, there's a reason why other counties aren't doing this and other entities aren't doing it. It's cost prohibitive. And that's why you don't even do defined benefits anymore, because it's cost prohibitive. And so I'm not in favor of this. Again, that sounds kind of harsh. It's not because the people didn't work hard for the county and that they've the COVID impact. I completely understand it. But the impact, again, it's defined benefit versus defined contribution, and there's a reason why we're defined contribution now. So I wouldn't support a motion on this. I wouldn't even bring a motion on this on my end. So.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think it would be financially prudent. It's too big of a cost. It just is cost prohibitive, and I don't think it would be a good move on our part, as stewards of the general fund. I just don't think that would be a good use of it. It would be nice if we could. I just think it's cost prohibitive.
Especially in piggybacking on, we have what, Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't we still outstanding liabilities $13 million on the MERS? Is that roughly in the ballpark range?
It could be roughly in the ballpark range. Again, I don't have that in front of me, but it sounds about right. I will say something about the ARP funds off the top of my head again. the reason I said it was, I was, going to look into it as, again, I don't have my rules in front of me, but they were very clear that, we could pay pension costs if we were using the ARP money to pay current salaries for employees. So, if that was part of their total compensation, that we could allocate that. But as far as going back and funding any balances or doing that kind of funding,
Okay.
that's not allowed by ARP, but I can still, if the committee wants me to look into this further, I would be happy to do that, but that's just.
Well,
on the ARP
For me, regardless of whether if you could take it out of ARP, I would not be in favor of that expense coming out of ARP. I think as we go forward in the county, whether it's this year, next year, or within the next few years, I don't think that would be I think there's other things that can be spent on than that. So again, everything it's worth, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm being harsh here, and I'm trying not to be. I completely understand it. But it's just not financially, it's not feasible. So do we make a motion then and not approve it?
I don't think we have to do anything if we're not forward,
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if there's anything else anybody wants to add to that. I agree. I just don't think it's feasible economically. I don't think it's a good move for us. I don't think we should do it. So with that, I'm not hearing anything else. So we will move on to that brings us down to invoice list discussion. I don't think I had any questions on those. I know the one had quite a lot of drain work on it, a lot of drain work. But I didn't have
Time of year trying to get it done. I think the drain commissioner is probably trying to get a lot of things done before winter. Yes. Sorry to interrupt, Commissioner.
I'm sure, yeah, that's probably a good idea. We're only gonna have so much nice weather yet this year. Commissioner Jelezinski, did you have any comments or questions on the invoice list?
I do not. Everything seems to be straightforward.
Okay, Commissioner Horton?
Yeah, it's just interesting. Every time I see something like the Pete's Auto Body or something like that for patrol car repairs, you think of all the patrol cars and county vehicles and our vehicles driving around the roads. And I mean, just in my little podunk world of driving between my house and Big Rapids, I see 40 to 50, I don't say it that high, but I'm sure, Commissioner Jelezinski lives in Shepherd area. He probably sees the same thing. You drive up and down the roads and you see deer all over the place. So when you see that kind of, I don't know if it was due to a deer, but this is the time of year when they're really running. Hunters are in the woods and people are in the woods. It's expenses that happen. So again, it says insurance will reimburse, but it just gives you an idea that dollars are being spent for that. So, and that's a risk not only to the vehicles, but to the drivers. I mean,
Yes.
that's a,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
something. So,
I thought that too when I saw that. What's the story behind that? But yeah, there's a lot of deer collisions, and they're dangerous. I know where I grew up in Hold, a trooper was killed hitting a deer. He was responding to an emergency and going really fast and hit a whole herd of deer and killed him. So it's dangerous.
it's not even deer. I mean, we were driving back. This was probably the way we moved in '97 into Mount Pleasant. But I would say shortly thereafter, we had their nice family van, and we're coming back up 20, and all of a sudden a big turkey's flying. I know WKRP didn't think it did, but they have darn things.
Right.
And
turkeys can't fly.
you'd be surprised what a turkey hitting the front of your car and landing on your hood and coming right over the top can do to a van. I think it was like $7,000, $8,000 worth of damage from a turkey. You know,
Yeah.
and I called my sister up and said, you know, you're not gonna believe this. I just hit a turkey. And she goes, what do you mean you just hit a turkey? Somebody drop it in the Myers parking lot or what? You know, and I go, no, I hit a turkey driving down the road. You know? So, you know, that's just how it is in this on our area, which is again, I hark back to it. What a, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, Mount Pleasant, the nice thing about Mount Pleasant is that we've got culture and we've got all this stuff going on, but it doesn't take about a mile and you can be in a field somewhere and peaceful and, you know, whatever. And that's the beauty of it. But this is one of the drawbacks to it is you are driving down the road, could get hit anytime. So anyway, sorry, I digress for a moment.
Just a quick story. When I was Parks and Recreation Director, we had a pheasant radiator off on a park truck. Took it out, put the truck on the sideline for about a week until it could get repaired.
I've had pheasants shear off my my antenna on my old truck driving to Gladwin one day. Just all of a sudden, the pheasant comes flying across and takes my antenna off. What the heck? What's going on here? So sheared it right off like it was nothing.
Ruined that pheasant's day too.
And probably, those things are resilient. They probably hit it with a little bit of a wing, a little bit of a nudge, you know. So
Yeah.
just to tick me off. So
Yep. All right. Moving on then, we are back down to call to the public. And I see we do have a caller online.
We do have an unknown caller, Mr. Chairman. This would be the time that they would press *9 if they would like to raise their hand for public comment. I do not see their hand raised at this time.
Okay. Okay, very good. Then we can adjourn. It is,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
I always wonder where in the agenda I can maybe,
I'm sorry about that. I usually ask if there's anything else before I close it off, but go ahead.
you know, as being good stewards of the public's money, I think we have an opportunity right now to kind of review a couple of positions that we have. We have an opening right now for Deputy County Administrator Controller. I would think that maybe we should delay that rehiring and kind of take a look at that position, to kind of take a look at our financial management options. I know we pay considerable amount for those two positions, and I'm not sure we can do better, but I think it's an opportunity we have to review the situation. We may be able to do better. We may be able to do it for less. And I'm suggesting that perhaps the committee consider, or the chairman of the committee consider assigning an ad hoc committee to look at that, maybe comprised of the finance committee members, Nicole Frost and Steve Pickens seem to be the major players in that. But I think it's an opportunity we need to take a look at. And again, it may not go nowhere, but I think it's an opportunity at this point.
Well, I'm not opposed to that. We have the board chairman here. What do you think about that?
Let's reserve comment on that. I'm going to have a chance to think on that.
Sure.
We've had, we had again, we have a new county administrator controller coming in. That would be one thing. Then she would get to choose her deputy. And I think she should have a say in regards, I know we mentioned Nicole, she would have a say in that for certain. It is a position that we budgeted for. It is a position that has shown to be worthwhile. So again, though, as we've mentioned before, anything that we can do to improve upon or work within our budget and to, do anything like that, I'm not opposed to looking into it. I don't think we need to create an ad hoc committee. I think we have a committee right here in finance administration. I think that would be probably a start to bring in some talks with it. I would probably wait until through this term. We've already had time to get everything around. Let Ms. Frost have time to get together. She's going to be on coming in before the end of the year. So I would think that would be something this committee, regardless of who's on it or whatever, would probably look at maybe first quarter with some input and some suggestions, since it's already in the budget. So, and again, if she wants to make, if Ms. Ross, or I'm trying to be political, Nicole wants to add anything, but that should be her call, and then she can make a recommendation to the board that way. I don't think we need to necessarily have an ad hoc committee created for that. Again, that's just my thoughts right now. I wouldn't be in favor of doing anything this year because we're already into November. But first quarter with new county administrator controller, if that's something she would like to look into and explore and come to the board, whether she, and I don't think we need to put it into finance unless she wants to. Maybe she wants to make a recommendation. I don't know that, but I would leave it in her hands first and see if she wants to reply to it. That would be my thought.
That we're not going to be rehiring the position until the first quarter then?
I have no idea on that.
If we rehire the position, we lose options.
Okay.
And if we're fiscally responsible to the public, I see no risk in at least looking.
Let me chew on that, Jerry. I don't know how to respond to. We have that position opened up, and now we're going to be hiring somebody and maybe possibly taking away their deputy. So that to me, I don't think is a good move on our part as commissioners. I mean, we have a position in place, and now we're going to be taking that again. I'm just thinking out loud without having time to put a lot of thought into it. But that would be my thought, is where we've hired somebody with coming in as administrator controller with the option of having a deputy administrator controller, and now we want to looking to possibly take that away or relinquish that when we've had it in the past now for 4 or 5 years. So again,
It doesn't mean we're taking it away. We're just looking at options. There's no risk in taking a look at options, but
no, the risk would be what involvement would be coming from the new administrator controller. If she wants to continue on and have a deputy or she wants to reassign or do some different things with that deputy position, I think she should have that option. Or we can, if she wants to choose to wait. I haven't had much time to consider that. And I'd want to take some input from Nicole and from Margaret. And again, this might be something we talk about in committee here too. I mean, we still have, but again, we're at the end of the year and we got a new administrator controller starting 1/1. So, but I mean, I get what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, I would want to hear from Nicole and what her statement is, and I don't want to put her on the spot today. I think we need to, maybe we bring it up in topic for next committee meeting. I don't know, but that's my thought. I mean, again, without having any time to think on it. Commissioner Hope, do you have anything to add to this?
I would just say that I'm not opposed to looking at that. I definitely would not do anything without our incoming administrator controller's input. I think that's going to be critical, that we don't do something outside of her sphere of input, and then all of a sudden it kind of changes the nature of the position that we just hired for. So we definitely need her input on that, I think.
Right, and also too, that was board action. The full board hired and created this position and hired this position. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, I get, again, Commissioner Jelezinski, Jerry, I get what you're saying on this, and yes, being financial stewards, but this is something I don't think we want to, where am I going? I would wait and have, again, if the position is posted, is it posted? I'm assuming it's posted if Nicole's leaving. I'm assuming it's not posted yet.
No, may I say something?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, the position has not been posted yet. That was something that I was going to discuss with Nicole later this week. about when we wanted to do that so that she could be making her decision. I understand the discussion. I have a different take on the discussion. You know, I think the possibility of restructuring the administrator controller's office should be coming from a recommendation from the administrator controller once Nicole is here and in the position, because you see the world differently once you're in the position, number one. Number two, you know, I don't know, are we going to, is the Board of Commissioners going to start looking at every single position that's left and making a decision whether or not it's going to be refilled? I think you're talking about a slippery slope. You know, I guess I have an opinion about it. I might not be asked my opinion, so maybe I'll keep it to myself. But I think it's interesting that that would come up at this point. When you've hired an administrator controller who probably, and I'm not going to speak for Nicole again, and I think it's a very unfortunate discussion to be having today in a public meeting. When you're bringing in a new administrator controller, to have that discussion the first time in this realm, I think is very unfair to her. And, you know, it's interesting to me in general that I think that until you've been in the position, it's hard to understand the enormity of it. And it is enormous. There's not a certain set structure of every single duty and every single responsibility. It's a CEO, CFO position. It is the top executive position in the county. And I think that to say to an administrator controller who's coming on board under one set of expectations that between now and when that person's going to take office or soon after they take office, that a committee might be restructuring I just don't think that's the appropriate thing to do. I don't know, I've not, in this 8 years I've been here, I've never heard the Board of Commissioners want to restructure any other office in the organization or any other department in the organization. So it's a very interesting concept. And I can tell you, I think it would be inappropriate at this point to do that. And I think it would be very unfair to the next administrator controller to change her department and her office before she takes office or even immediately upon her taking office. It doesn't feel right to me.
Just to find out,
Mr. Jasinski.
it is the County Board of Commissioners that make the decisions concerning personnel. And I know I've worked in counties that have had a combined deputy county administrator controller and financial management. They function well. A lot of counties will take a look when there's an opportunity. We'll take a look. It doesn't mean that there is a set plan of action, but it's the fact that we're fearing or it's unfair. It just seems like that is, to me, that's very foreign to my experience in good county government. It's just an opportunity, and it doesn't mean that we're going to move in any specific direction. I think Nicole needs to be involved with that, but there may be a way of strengthening the structure. But to not even consider it out of unfairness or fear just seems unfortunate.
I guess my thought would be I would put the new county administrator controller and have that the deputy positions in place, and how the new county administrator controller wants to have that deputy. I wouldn't take that away. I as a board member, I don't want to be, I shouldn't say it like that. As a board member, I don't want to, since we've already approved the position, have the position in place. And ironically, the person coming in, Nicole's coming in from that position, who better to know the ins and outs of the deputy and what she would like to have in that deputy's position. So I don't know if I'd want to throw in controller part or finance part. I think we've got some issues coming up in our short-term, long-term issues that, I would listen to what our new county administrator controller would want in that position. I would really that would, again, she's coming from that position. So what better person to know what's involved? I mean, so I think right now, I think we just let that be and wait for our new county administrator controller to come on board and go from there. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. I don't see a reason to change anything right now on that. She may want, and again, I'm not going to speak for her, and she shouldn't have to speak now because I'm certainly not prepared to say anything without a lot of, but I am not in favor of change. I'm for status quo right now.
Yeah, I said this already, but I think it's worth repeating that we would be drastically changing or looking at the possibility of drastically changing the job that we just hired her to do. So I think this is kind of, none of us have had a chance to really chew on this. And I think we need to give it some time. But anyway, I'm going to end this there unless there's any other items that any of you want to bring up. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn at 11:01.
Thank you.
Everyone,
Thanks.
take care.
You too.